Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Brian Dery. I am a Navy veteran that served in the years 1992 to 1996. I went into the Navy because of many family members that went into the Navy. I had a brother that was in the Navy, some uncles. My maternal grandfather was in the Navy. Matter of fact, there's a story of he was stationed in Pearl Harbor around the time of December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese Navy attacked the American Navy. But he wasn't there. He was sent to San Diego for an emergency stomach surgery. And I don't know if he was ship-based or shore-based, but it's a little freaky and a little weird, scary, knowing that I possibly wouldn't exist today if he was there and was killed in the attacks that happened that Sunday morning. I joined and served the Navy for many reasons. Most importantly, serving my country. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to get life experiences. I wanted to grow up. At the time, I was 18 years old. I did basic training here in Orlando. The boot camp in the Naval Training Center no longer exists. It's now Baldwin Park. So I served in deck division my first 2 years in the Navy. And what that means is when we're underway, we're out to sea, you stand watches, you drive the ship. And I love that part. Back then I didn't. I was, again, 18, 19 years old. And I mean, who wanted to stand watch all throughout the day and middle of the night? And here I am driving a $1 billion ship. And I look back now, I'm like, whoa, I was driving a warship. I was honorably discharged in 1996. I immediately enrolled into VA healthcare, which I did not need until a couple years later when I was experiencing pains in my lower legs, muscle weaknesses, and I was diagnosed over at the Tampa VA hospital with Guillain-Barré syndrome. I was told that I would be experiencing this ordeal for about 2 weeks. It would take 2 weeks for me to go through the treatments and the recovery process. 4 months later, I walked out of the VA hospital. Guillain-Barré syndrome was very mysterious. It was very scary. From the research that my parents had did on it, from what we were told by the doctors and the therapists, I was told that I was asked, "Are you a patient person, Mr. Dery?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Well, by the time you get done with this, you will learn patience." Well, 4 months later, I learned a lot more than patience. I learned compassion for those with disabilities. I learned more of a love for the brotherhood and sisterhood of my fellow veterans, because you're, in lack of better words, you're stuck in a hospital setting, and you go on social outings, there's bingo night, and there's a lot of camaraderie between us, and it's a time for kinship to happen. During the time of my ordeal with Guillain-Barré, I went through so many different types of therapies, whether it was physical therapy, whether it was occupational therapy, even recreational therapy. That was to help you with your mental health, as well as your occupational and physical therapy, working on models, puzzles, painting, what have you. We did some social outings, and the healthcare providers, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, to social workers, to psychiatrists, very caring, very giving, very knowledgeable. They made sure that I had whatever I needed when I was able to go home on the weekends. They made sure I had whatever I needed when I was discharged, and they really do care. During that whole experience, I lost all mobility from the neck down. I never lost sensation. Matter of fact, my sensation was greatly amplified because of the effect that it had on my nerves. I had to learn not only to crawl, but to walk again, to getting myself dressed. I had to do a driving test. I had to make sure that I was very dependent of myself, and I had to do this kind of test in front of occupational physical therapists, like learning how to button a shirt, learning how to cook a meal in home, make sure I don't burn the house down. There was a time that I was very scared. One night, I was very impatient. I wanted to hurry up and get out of there and start my life over again, getting out to LA. I already had my film degree in hand. I wanted to get out there and make those next big blockbuster movies. So one night, I do recall, I did break down crying, and apparently a nurse walked by, didn't come into the room, didn't say anything to me. But the next day, a psychiatrist came and talked to me and wanted to know how my well-being was. And I said, hey, I'm human. I just had a moment of weakness. I was very determined to recover. Even though I did do one of the neurological tests that the doctor came in and he says, you're in that low percentile that I'm afraid you're never going to recover. And I've tried many different treatments. I tried plasmapheresis. Initially I did 5 of those at first, one every other day. Went to recovery. I was on that floor for about a month, was getting worse, went back to the floor I originally was on, did another round of 5 treatments, went back to the rehab floor. By this time I was fully paralyzed from the neck down, started another type of treatment called immunoglobulins, did 5 of those IV treatments, still nothing. And then I was put on prednisone, but at first they didn't want to put me on prednisone. They said that it could cause my condition to get worse. Did a family meeting with my parents and the medical providers, and my dad was very upset, and he's like, how worse can he be? He goes, he's paralyzed from the neck down. He's in pain. You guys are talking about putting him in the nursing home here at the Tampa VA, probably going to shove him in a corner and put a blanket on him and just forget about him. So reluctantly, the doctors did put me on prednisone. And within a month, I regained most of my abilities to walk, hold things, do my normal life. And if it wasn't for the VA, if it wasn't for the health care that I was given, I wouldn't be who I am today or how active I am today. I'm serving once again. And by that, I'm working for the VA. This is my second time working for the VA. When I first got out of the hospital in '99, I worked for the Tampa VA for about a year. And then I knew I still had the passion of filmmaking. So I resigned my position, worked on a short film in Orlando. Then I got hired on at a contractor for NASA, producing their safety videos, and I got to see a lot of cool stuff over there at NASA. When NASA was booming, the shuttle program was still in existence. It was really cool. And then I finally moved to LA right after 9/11. And within a month, I realized that LA is not where I wanted to be. It was no longer a goal or a desire to work in that film industry. It was really bad juju. And I just didn't want to be part of it. It almost ruined the whole passion of filmmaking for me and going to the theaters and watching movies. So when I moved back to Florida, I worked at Full Sail in the financial aid department, getting a game plan of what my life was going to be. Then I got a job in news as a camera operator. Did that for a few years. As I was tapped out, I wanted to do something bigger and better. I then headed up the production department of a medical educational video company down in South Florida, making educational videos for patients and healthcare providers. And I really loved it. At that time, I started up a nonprofit organization where I was making videos and documentaries on individuals with disabilities. And we featured all kinds of topics from spinal cord injury to meningococcemia, focused on a lot of young patients of the Shriner hospitals, did one on autism. And since then, I got back into the VA, headed up the medical media department at the Orlando VA hospital, where together with another coworker, we were building out, planning, and designing the medical media for the new Orlando VA at Lake Nona. I transferred from the Orlando VA to SimLearn, which is on the Orlando VA campus. In 2002, after I moved back from LA, I got into scuba diving. In 2017, I started up an off-roading organization where we do a lot of off-roading events here in Florida and out of state, and I'm very, very active with that. We have over 23,000 members, and we're busy almost every weekend of the month. I still have a passion and love for filmmaking and videography. I have done underwater videography. I've done a couple different types of web series on Jeep travels all throughout the nation. Since my experience with Guillain-Barré in 1998, I have been admitted into the VA hospital for quite a few different types of health issues. One year I had cellulitis and I was at risk of actually losing my leg. That's how bad it was. I was in the hospital for a week receiving IV treatments around the clock, and I was able to save my leg. January of this year, here in 2025, I was at risk of losing my big toe because it was broke. I was walking around on it for a week and did not know it was broken, and it was infected. Came to the Orlando VA, was admitted, was told that I was going to lose it, but the surgeons here and the healthcare providers were very, very good at saving my toe, and let's say I got all 10 little piggies. The only bad experience I ever had in the VA, truly a bad experience, was I had a late in the afternoon appointment, and it was going even later because of all of the previous appointments that were running late. For whatever reason caused that snowball effect, I don't know. But I said, all right, I will never be in this situation again, because when I go to schedule my next appointment, I don't care how far out it is, I'm going to get the very first appointment of the morning. And that has always worked for me, and it's cut out any issues. As a veteran, I appreciate the blessing that I was received of getting the free healthcare that I do. It's very convenient for me to go over to the Orlando VA hospital since I work on the campus for my medical appointments. If I ever need to get my meds renewed, I just go online and fill out which ones I need. They either mail them to me or I can go down to the pharmacy, let them know what I'm out of or I'm close to being out of, and then I can come back 15, 20 minutes later, pick them up. Receiving that care has made me a very compassionate person. It's made me a very well-informed person of others, what they're going through, and having a heart. I did find out what my hospital bill would have been in 1998. At the time of my hospital stay, each plasmapheresis treatment was $50,000. This is 1998. So I got 10 of those with all of the meds that I got, with all of the hospital care, the round-the-clock care, all the meals, the therapies, lots of therapy, all the MRI exams, the nuclear tests, everything. The hospital bill would have been well over $1 million. And it's hard to think about that today. Imagine what the monetary value of it was back in '98. And I want to thank you all for attending today and for allowing me to speak. Whatever your career path is of choice, do your best at it. Be your best. Do it with care, with love, with a big heart, with passion, and have a smile on your face, and make sure whoever you're taking care of has a smile too. And let them know that they're going to be taken care of.